In Syria, a temporary ceasefire has expired. Russia called the 5-hour truce to allow civilians to leave the rebel-held region of Ghouta near Damascus. But the UN says ongoing airstrikes made it impossible for people to get out and impossible for aid to get in. Arthi Pole is working on the story. What happened, Arthi?
Well, essentially, this truce was ineffective. Now, this truce was something that Russia was calling for, essentially suggesting from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. local time that there should be a ceasefire, that there should be no airstrikes, no shelling, in order to allow for aid to get into this area and also for those who are critically ill to get out of the area in eastern Ghouta. And so this is something that we saw was completely ineffective within just hours of the first so-called ceasefire of this truce. We saw that there were airstrikes. We know that the Syrian government is suggesting it was the rebels then pointing their fingers, saying that it was in fact the Syrian government that broke this truce. So in the end, what ended up happening is those individuals who need help certainly didn't get it. Now, we do have a map that indicates the area we're talking about, where there was meant to be a humanitarian corridor. And you can see at that checkpoint is where it was expected that aid could get in through that corridor into eastern Douma, and critically injured people or critically ill people would be able to be part of a medical evacuation. We have an image also of those aid workers standing by. They were waiting for that 5-hour truce period in order to offer aid and help to those who needed it and to bring in whatever was needed. In fact, they weren't able to do that because of the airstrikes and the shelling that continued into the ceasefire. Now, in terms of how long this has gone on for, it's been more than a week that we've seen this in eastern Ghouta. Approximately 393,000 people are trapped. At least 568 civilians have been killed in the past 9 days. And the last rebel stronghold is close to Damascus. And that is also indicated on that map there, that this is one of the last rebel strongholds. But certainly there were calls for this ceasefire. It appears that it has been ineffective so far, Suhana.
Arthi, over the weekend, the UN proposed a 30-day ceasefire. So why wasn't that implemented?
Yeah, and these are two different proposals. So we know that Russia called for this 5-hour truce. We know that the UN Security Council unanimously passed this 30-day consecutive ceasefire. But of course, that did not get implemented either. Why? Well, essentially, we're hearing that the Russian foreign minister said that they wanted to make sure there was cooperation on all sides. That would include cooperation from extremist groups, for example, the Islamic State, Al-Qaeda, etc. And they said that until there was cooperation from all groups, it would be a pointless 30 consecutive days of a ceasefire because they could not guarantee that these other groups would honor it. And so how would they, in fact, know that there would be a capacity for aid to get in and they could then protect their interests as well? So this is why they were saying that 5 hours is better than no hours. It appears that even that wasn't possible to occur in this area. Suhana.
Thanks for the update, Arthi.
You're welcome.